David Bearman, Pro Football Network, joining us here, talking all things football. Let's jump into the NFL playoffs. Is there anybody that has more to prove, or is there anybody that has more pressure on? I'm going to go 1A, 1B, that being Josh Allen, and him being 1B. But really, is there anybody that with more pressure going into them than one Lamar Jackson?
I don't think so, because Lamar's reigning MVP. He might well win it again if Josh Allen doesn't get it. And the only thing Lamar is really missing, you could say the same thing for Josh Allen, is the playoff success. But Josh Allen hasn't won the MVPs. Josh Allen is off his best year ever this year, when the Josh Allen of old has been loose with the ball, interceptions, fumbles. It's always been, well, the Bills lost because Josh Allen didn't play well. That hasn't been the case with Lamar. Lamar has been this team. Lamar has won MVPs, 2 MVPs. He just hasn't shown it in the playoffs. So I would put Lamar up there as 1A. This is a guy who I think has to make the Super Bowl. Last year, they at least got to the AFC title game after, but keep in mind, they had the bye last year. So Lamar only won one game last year, and he won one game before that. And that team has not fared well when pressure has come upon them. But I think this is the best team they have had. You have Derrick Henry at running back. You got a litany of receivers out there, even though Zay Flowers is out. I think that this is the best team that Lamar's had yet. And I'd actually be surprised if they lost to Buffalo and didn't go into Kansas City and give them everything they had, because this is a good team. And listen, you take nothing away from Josh Allen. He's had plenty of battles, but who has he lost to? He's just lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs every single year. So Lamar's lost Lamar's lost to worse teams than that. At least Josh Allen can say, hey, I wasn't the MVP and I lost to the MVP. Lamar's been the MVP and lost.
I got a two-header here for you, especially because Saturday game is a doubleheader. Chargers and Texans. Who needs the win more, Justin Herbert and the Chargers, or the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud? And then on the other hand, our other game, Mike Tomlin. If he does not win, which they are not projected to win, how does his coaching tenure look in Pittsburgh?
Starting with the first one, with Houston and Los Angeles, I'm not sure the end result there matters too much. I don't see either one of those two teams making an impact in the rest of the NFL playoffs. I think the winner of that game ultimately either loses to, if the seeds hold, it would be Kansas City. If not, Buffalo or Baltimore. Ultimately, I think Houston's live here as a live dog. I think no one's giving them credit for being a good team and winning that division. I know they didn't end well and they didn't have a really good end of the season. I think all the cards right now are in Los Angeles because they think the Chargers are better. It's Harbaugh's first year, but it's also his first year. I don't think anybody expected him, A, to make the playoffs, or B, to win a playoff game. So I don't think there's downfall on either side. No one's expecting much from either team. So I think the winner of that is playing with house money, so to speak. On the flip side of things, Pittsburgh is an enigma. They're a team that comes out at the beginning of the year just like they did last year, won a whole bunch of games you didn't think they should have won. Didn't look great doing so. At least this year they got some offense out of it with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields when they started with him. I mean, the Ravens are the better team. There's a reason why the Ravens won the division. There's a reason why they won a few weeks ago. At the end of the day, they're going to have to figure out that Pittsburgh offense. Listen, Mike Tomlin has gotten it done year in and year out, always has a winning record. This is supposed to be the worst team he's had in years, and he basically had the division lead until Week 18, so give him credit for that. I just don't see them having enough firepower to stick around with Baltimore in this one. I think Baltimore wins this one in a nice drag-them-out defensive battle with the Steelers, and you still tip your cap to the fact that Mike Tomlin got 10 wins out of that team, if not 11. I remember if they're 10-7 or 11-6. Either way, they made the
10.
playoffs, and they made the playoffs pretty easily.
David Bearman, Chief Content Officer, Pro Football Network, joining us here on Fan After Dark. When we look at that NFC, I mean, look, I get it. Detroit is the favorite in the clubhouse, but you've also got a scrappy Philadelphia team that's been there before. We're kind of waiting to see what the Jalen Hurts post-concussion is going to look like. Look, would we be at all surprised if any of the other teams, maybe short of the Commanders, made a run in that NFC? Am I crazy for thinking that that this NFC could be wide open?
I 100% agree with you. I was actually telling that to someone earlier today that I think the NFC, short of the Commanders, which is what you just said, they're a little early there with Jaden Daniels and first-year coach, rookie quarterback. I think they're ahead of the game. Might be looking at them in the next couple of years. I think anybody else in that conference can win it because Tampa's got an explosive offense. You talked about how Green Bay can beat anybody. They have beaten anybody. They went toe-to-toe with the Packers. earlier this year. They went toe-to-toe with the Lions earlier this year. We know how good Minnesota can be. And let's not sleep on the Los Angeles Rams, and thoughts and prayers, obviously, to everybody in Los Angeles. That Rams team is really good. They're really talented, and they're experienced. I actually picked the Rams to win this one. Don't worry about where the game is. I think Minnesota, coming off what was their Super Bowl last week in Detroit to get that one seed in that bye, looked so bad. Sam Darnold, when the lights were on, looked so bad that it was his worst game of the year. I have a lot of question marks as to what that Minnesota team can do, because Sam Darnold's never played in a playoff game. He's been in them because he was Brock Purdy's backup last year. Most of that team never been in the playoffs, or they played one playoff game, which was 2 years ago at home, getting blown out by Daniel Jones and the Giants. We'll let that sit there for a minute, something you never thought anybody would say. They don't have the experience. This Rams team won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And, by the way, people forget this. Lions to the gun last year. They only lost 24-23 to the Detroit Lions in the second round.
Yeah.
So in the wild card round. So this is a very tested, veteran Rams team who knows how to win. They're getting points. I was going to say at home, but even in Arizona. I think the Rams win this one because that Minnesota loss is bigger than people think. Now, listen, they're talented. They won 14 games. Coach of the year, most likely, in O'Connell. Darnold's done yeoman's job of bringing that team to 14 wins. I did not like how bad they looked last week against Detroit.
Well, you certainly made my guy Blake Elliott's day, because that's he and I have gone back and forth on Sam Darnold. And look, all of us Sam Darnold supporters have egg on our face after what went down on Sunday night. So I guess I'm leaning towards the fact that, look, he had that one ugly game, and in Kevin O'Connell in a bounce-back game we trust. That being said, when we look at these games this weekend, again, the NFC's wide open. I think the AFC's a three-team race as well. When you look at these matchups, though, what's the one thing that you're going to be looking forward to as far as, is there one game that sticks out to you on Wild Card Weekend that has your the most of your attention?
It's going to be the Packers-Eagles, just for the sheer fact that you do not know what's going to happen with Jalen Hurts post-concussion. Sure. He hasn't practiced much. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks. Being a guy who has followed the Miami Dolphins for the last 1.5 years, I've seen the Tua situation with the concussions. Know it very well. You don't know what you're going to get out of a guy who hasn't seen live action. Hurts wanted to return in that game. He didn't. Did they sit him out of precaution? Is he going to pass protocol? That is a very interesting game, because I could tell you right now, I could see either team winning it, even with Hurts playing. How the Eagles play in a game that matters is going to be quite the difference, because they haven't played much this year that matters, because they won that division basically 5 weeks into the season, thinking that maybe the Commanders can stick around with that one. It was an easy division for them, and they haven't faced much adversity. And the last time they played a big game, they got their butts kicked in the playoffs last year, so by Tampa. I don't know what happened again this year. I think they learned their lesson. They were playing as well as anybody at the end of the year. But the Packers can win that game, and I would not be surprised to see them do so.
All right, real quick, got about 30 seconds. I got to get your thoughts on this, because Blake and I talked about this earlier in the show. Look, you got Tom Brady, who it sounds like is running the show now in Vegas, which, again, with Vegas, that could change by the minute. Antonio Pierce getting the boot. Now Telesco gets the boot. You're hearing rumblings that maybe Tom Brady's talking to Bill Belichick. We know the one thing about Bill Belichick, he loves to coach and pick the players. If there's smoke, there's fire, or is this much ado about nothing?
No, Belichick came out yesterday and said he's not leaving. I would think it's very hard to believe he would turn around and screw North Carolina over, and the people that he brought in there, Lombardi and others. I think he's staying. I do think, though, and this is my prediction for the coaching carousel, I wouldn't sleep on the Mike Vrabel thing. I think, obviously, you're looking at the fact that he is a New England guy, played there for so many years, knows Robert Kraft. It would be easy for him. I think one of the reasons they got rid of their coach to begin with was to get rid of Mayo to bring Vrabel in. But then his boy Tom Brady also has an opening out of nowhere. So I know the Jets interest him as well. I think Vrabel does a little bit of a bidding war between his home Patriots and his boy Brady, and we'll see who wins that one. Because to me, it's a no-brainer. Who has the better job? It's got to be the Patriots, who have a quarterback, who have a top 5 pick, and who have a successful organization of willing to win in the past. Whereas the Raiders haven't done anything in 20 years. The only team without a quarterback in that entire division. everybody else in that division has a good coach and a good quarterback. They have neither right now. So if I'm Vrabel, I don't go there. That destination seems like a train wreck going nowhere fast. New England's got the pieces. I'm not saying they're going to be good anytime soon, but Vrabel knows the organization, knows the city. He's going to get a top 5 pick, and he has a quarterback right now, so he can do stuff with that. But watch Tom Brady, the control he has, and the back and forth that Vrabel says, all right, who's going to pay me the most, so go where I need to go.
I love it. I love it. Real quick, tell the folks at home where they can find old DB on the socials.
Absolutely. I'm at David Bearman PFN on Twitter, and of course go to @PFN365 is our Pro Football Network handle. If you go to ProFootballNetwork.com, you can also play with our mock draft simulator. It's one of the best in the business. Go in there, pick a team, do a mock draft, see if your beloved Cowboys will do what they need to do in the draft, or your Dolphins or your Niners or whoever you like. You can go there at ProFootball.com, ProFootballNetwork.com, and play with the mock draft simulator. We also have the playoff predictor, where you can go in there and predict who's going to win, yada, 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 follow the bracket. Lots of good toys to play with there. And, of course, wall-to-wall NFL coverage, stats, and analysis from the entire crew.
DB, great stuff from you as always, my friend. Enjoy the games this weekend. Let's do this again when it's championship time.
Absolutely. Give me a holler.